Welcome to Not Strong. This is a podcast for men about empowering the human spirit. What do you do when the things you relied upon quit working? When your physical and emotional strengths are put to the test? Do you push through, hold on even tighter, or have you learned how to surrender? And what does that look like? We're here to explore the human spirit, tapping into something bigger than ourselves, living a happier, healthier, more fulfilling life. Thanks for joining us on the Not Strong journey. Welcome to Not Strong. I'm Curtis Loftus, and today we have another guest with us, Chickie Dimain, or Dabu. As this is episode 2, and this season ahead of us is dedicated to Tim Hamby, the former co-host, my co-host, and individual that started this with me last year. I would like us, because Dabu, Chickie knows Tim as well, and there's going to be a story about that relationship, honoring Tim and how he impacted your life. But together I was thinking, let's pray about this podcast and get into your work, who you've been, the stuff you do over the last, since 2010, I guess. Do you call it a forecaster?
Yeah, surf forecaster, surf and marine forecaster is typically how I advertise myself.
All right, so we're gonna say a quick prayer, and then I'll do the proper introduction. So, thank you, Jesus, for this opportunity to sit with Chickie and talk about the things that are our spirit, and also where we are in our walk, our journey, where Chickie draws his encouragement from, how he fits that into his life work. Thank you for reminding us that we don't do this alone. This all things through you, and that we honor Tim in this work as well. And just grateful that we can sit together and reach out to an audience. So in your name, amen.
Amen.
Chickie, I've known you not real well, but we're both Jack's Beach guys. Right? And both surfers.
Yep.
Probably about the same age, right? Or you're younger.
62. I just turned 62.
I'm 64. So, yep, we are both watermen, surfers. We love the ocean. And you're a father?
Yes. Father of 3, grandfather of 3, and a great-grandfather of 1.
Great-grandfather, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And,
that starts to happen, doesn't it, eventually?
That's right. And 2 of my grandkids are older than my youngest, which most know as Ella, or El Seahorse. Okay. So she's already a auntie.
Yeah. All right. Well, so I met you, I think I met you really and chatted with you one time. I'll never forget it. It was like at the Salt Life, I believe, Food Shack. And this goes back to 2011. And I think this is about the time when some big stuff is happening in your life. Yeah. And you and I didn't connect, and I didn't even tell you this pre-show. But I do remember hearing at that time, because there was a lot going on in my life too. I mean, there were some big things happening for me. 2011 is actually when I broke the world record surfing. Right. But also as a father, my career, the things I was doing in my journey, life journey, there was so many chaotic hidden things going on in my life that I was going to have to address. But I saw you at Salt Life. I remember talking to you. I remember hearing some things from you at that time that were like, dude, this Chickie's paying attention to some things, And I'm talking like big things, changing your life was changing. We didn't get into it. We didn't talk in depth, but let's go ahead and do that first, because I know it's connected up with Tim a little bit too.
Sure. Yeah. 2003, I think it might have been 2002. I had been living at the beach, or in the beach area. And as a surfer that lives at the beach, you typically never pay attention to the forecast, especially if you're living on the ocean, where you get up in the morning, you walk out the door, and if there's waves, you go surf. If there's no waves, you go to work. And I ended up meeting a young lady one night at Sundog Diner. And before I knew it, we were getting married, and I moved from the beach to Fleming Island. Wow. And anytime I'd go to the beach, I'd always get there late. My buddies, oh man, it was so good an hour ago, and where I was stuck on 295 in bumper to bumper traffic. So I started learning about the forecast so that I could make the best use of my time of doing that. So I started my forecast prowess through an email chain. And in that email chain was Eddie Pitts from 911surfreport.com.
Yep.
And Eddie had followed along for a little while, and he reached out to me one day and he says, "Hey, Chick," he says, "man, some of these calls that you're making, they're pretty good. They're right on." He said, "How would you like to, instead of posting your stuff through an email, how would you like to post it on 911surfreport.com?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And there was one call that I made, and it was based off an observation that I saw on the satellite imagery of an area of spin that was coming together just east of the Outer Banks. And I had advertised Surf Alert that there's fixing to be really good surf coming.
But do this, so I apologize for the interruption. But you are doing this gratis. This is just a passion. You're not doing it for money. You're just like, I'm going to start making some surf predictions or surf forecast calls,
because it was for me personally. That's how it started off. It was for me to make the best use of my time. And I have no formal training in meteorology, but I like to tell people that I have a BS from the University of Google Search.
All right.
And but going back to the Eddie Pitts 911surfreport.com story, I had made an observation in the satellite imagery, and I saw an area of spin developing east of the Outer Banks, and I posted on 911 Surf Report that Surf Alert was coming. Yeah. And, most people, not to call out names, go to some other surf forecast, and they went to the other surf forecast websites, and they said, "Oh, you're full of crap. So-and-so's not showing anything coming." Right. And I said, "No, I'm telling you, it's coming." Yeah. And so I think I had said that it was going to come on a Wednesday, and then we had already started to see the numbers on the buoys start to increase. The swell was starting to show up. I'll never forget, I was on at the traffic light on 220, getting ready to head towards the Buckman Bridge, and the phone rang, and it was Eddie Pitts. Yeah. And Eddie Pitts said, "Chick." I said, "Yeah, Eddie." He goes, "Man, you were wrong." And I was like, "Well, man, I'm sorry." He goes, "No, you said the swell was going to be here tomorrow." He goes, "It's here today." He says, "Get here. It's firing." And so sure enough, that's what kind of put me on the map right there.
There you go.
And then how Tim works into this was, Tim had been following along, I assume, and then
So you're putting some of your forecasts up on the 911 report.
On the 911 report,
okay.
Yeah. And at the time, I think I had started Facebook. Instagram wasn't around then.
This is 2004, 5, 6?
No, we were fast forwarding to 2010 or 11.
There you go. Yeah, gotcha.
And so I was posted on Facebook, and Tim was one of my followers on my...
How much are you posting at that time? How much of your life do you put into these forecasts? Posting? Man, it's everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Back then, was it a lot?
Just to give you an example, I had posted this morning that I felt like I'm back in hurricane season, because I got up at 1 o'clock this morning starting to look at the latest data coming in on this historic winter storm that's going to happen over the weekend. Yeah. And so, I put a lot of time into it.
You just love it. You love...
there's that old saying that says, love what you do, and the rest will come to you. Mm-hmm. So if you're doing something just because you got to do it, it's no fun. Right. And there's no love or passion behind it.
Sure.
But Tim had reached out to me, and, he introduced himself and then said that he'd been following for a while. And he was very sold on the things that I was doing. And with Tim being a writer, he suggested that he would like to get together with me in writing an article that he had published in the Inertia and Eastern Surf magazine.
Sure.
And so that's how Tim and our relationship started, was over the forecast.
Sure.
But what Tim didn't know when he reached out to me was that I was going through some of my darkest moments, whereas I had got caught in the 2003 recession. Things were falling apart. It ultimately ended up leading to a divorce. I was financially bankrupt. I lost my rental property. But more than that, not more than being financially bankrupt, I was also spiritually bankrupt.
Sure.
And when Tim and I started talking, on his end, he wanted to talk about the forecast. But, they say sometimes that the Lord puts the right people in your life at the right time. Tim became my person that I could dump on and tell all my problems to.
Sure.
It was every day I was being tested with another thing. Something else was going wrong. And it got to be so bad that I ended up getting foreclosure papers on my mother's house that I had just recently bought her the year before. And so, it was a very, very tough battle. But
how often were you talking with Tim?
Tim and I would talk almost every day. I
did. For how long? From what period to, when did this start? Probably 2011 sometime?
Yes, it had to have been around 2012.
Okay.
And the reason why I can recall that now is I had separated from my then wife 2012 and was living with my mother. I was still trying to do the forecast thing, and I didn't have a job.
Yeah.
And so Tim and I were able to relate on a daily basis as he started putting the things together for the article for Eastern Surf Magazine and the Inertia.
Oh, gosh. Wow. I always like to say from a surrender standpoint, were you doing some things that you were letting go of, or you were doing some things that you were trying to build into, or was it just having a good friend?
It was basically just having a good friend with Tim, but then it morphed into more of a spiritual faithful following, if you will.
Yeah. I was thinking about Tim as a brother over the weekend, this past weekend, and how that works, because brotherhood is so unique, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You can often have a brother and never really know him, right?
Exactly.
And then there's brothers that aren't blood brothers, but man, you know them like, gosh, you know them like they would be a blood brother, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, Tim was that type of friend with me. It was easy for him to do. He was comfortable. He was open. He had that heart that allowed you to feel, confident in his presence.
Well, and I think that his calmness put over me a sense of calmness to whereas, hey, look, things may not be the best for you right now, but everything is going to be all right.
Sure.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get through that period? How long was that for you?
Oh Lord, it was quite a period. At least 3 years.
So were you living again in a place where there weren't a lot of friends? Did you not have?
I was living with my mother.
Yeah, but not a lot of friends.
And not a lot of friends.
But you were doing this forecasting thing.
But I was doing the forecasting thing, and the only time that I would see any friends, obviously, was if there was waves, and there's water. Because the other part of it, because the Lord works in mysterious ways. In that time of my life, it also allowed me to move in with my mother and take care of my mother until the day she died,
right?
Because she was going through that phase in her life.
Sure.
And so, looking back, going through the process, it was no fun going through it. But now that I look back, it was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life.
Yeah.
And it provided me with opportunity to grow spiritually. It provided me with opportunity through testimony to understand the power of God and all of the things that he can do to improve your life if you just trust in the process.
So, were you traveling in this? Were you allowed to travel? Was there an ability to travel during the 2011-12?
No, I was land trapped. No money for travel. That was the least of my worries. My only spot to surf was my local break.
How are you tied to Puerto Rico? How did that happen?
Puerto Rico came by just by chance. Ella had a friend.
Ella's your daughter.
Ella's my daughter. She's my youngest. She just turned 20.
Yep.
My eldest just turned 41 today.
Yeah.
Chip, that's my son.
Yep.
But Ella had a friend that was living here, and the parents decided to move back to Puerto Rico.
Okay.
She was from Puerto Rico,
Yep,
and the parents decided to move back to Puerto Rico. And on a whim, Ella said, "Hey, I want to go to Puerto Rico to go visit."
Yeah.
And I just introduced Ella to surfing not long before that.
Yeah.
And
So, what year is this, do you think?
15 maybe.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
2014, 2015.
Okay, sort of a newbie then to the big for the travel thing. I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, years prior, I would always go to Costa Rica sometimes two or three times a year. But then I went through that stretch of having kids and
so
no travel.
So there really has been just about a decade for you of regular travel, because we're going to get into that some, because it fits into your surf forecasting. It fits into your life. You travel all the time there now.
Correct. Yes. I mean,
you live it,
and it's the forecast that allows me to do that.
Yeah.
Because I can pick and choose. My time when I want to go, and then the other part is I'm self-employed.
You have a concrete business.
I have a concrete business, a little small little business. I pick and choose the jobs that I want, and I learned my lesson of getting caught in that recession. Because if none of that happened, I wouldn't be where I am today. A lot of people, when things are good, you're always thanking the Lord. Thank you, Lord. Man, this is great.
Yeah.
But when things are bad, you go,
why is this happening?
Why is this happening?
This isn't fair.
But if you're going to thank the Lord when times are good, you have to thank Him when the times are bad.
Sure.
Sometimes people go through more bad times than others.
Yeah.
Some people go through life and everything is just absolutely perfect.
I don't think, Chickie, people go through life with everything perfect. They may put a false front on and let you make you believe everything looks perfect. But believe me, if you haven't gotten to a place where you sat with yourself, this is the way I see it. If you haven't gotten to that place where you've sat with yourself in a dark, empty, which everyone gets there somehow, some way, and felt that space enough to go, wow, I am in trouble and I need to reach out. Yeah. I need to go to a higher power. I need to go get into relationship.
Yes.
This is not the place where I'm doing well.
Right.
Isolated by yourself, with your own thoughts, with your own dark thoughts. And so it's not that I'm talking through this thing like it's easy. I just know all of us are set up, all humans are set up this way. And we get to encourage each other.
We can take those so-called dark moments that I was going through, and then now fast forward,
here we are.
I'm living the dream.
Yeah, you are. And that's why this is going to be fun. So we're going to now push a little bit into this, what I'm calling the podcast, and it would have shown up on the thumbnail and if you read the description. But we're going to go into this Pareidolia spirit. The Pareidolia idea I didn't know what that word meant until you said, Curtis, pay attention. You sent me some background on you and this forecasting that you've been doing and why and how you do it. And again, dabu. And that's the belly, right?
Yeah, short for the Buddha, because I got a little Buddha belly. But more importantly, for the all-knowing is the way I approach it.
There you go. And so this thing's been going on for a while. You do it for, really, this is your hobby. It's still not a money-generating thing. You have about 16,000 followers, it sounds like, on Instagram.
On X.
X.
And then 20 24,000 followers on Instagram, and I think 13 or 14 on Facebook.
So people are paying attention to you, right? And we were talking before the interview started, and you were saying to me, Curtis, there's some real meteorologists that follow me. There's some people that pay attention to what you're doing. I see you all the time, at least the visual stuff, the maps and the graphics and all the posts, because you do a ton of it. You are on anytime there's a system moving across the United States, anytime there's going to be something pulling off into the Atlantic and pulsating and throwing waves to the East Coast or down to Puerto Rico or somewhere, you're like, pay attention. But what you also do, which is crazy, is you draw all over your you draw on your maps, you type things out in caps still to this day. You put these things referencing songs and titles from music and different kind of poetic references, whatever. It's like the most crazy, different kind of way to present.
It's not your traditional weather forecast, surf forecast, what have you.
So I can imagine when you tell me, Curtis, some of the meteorologists said, no, I'm not doing this. Not everyone will follow you, because it's probably is like, this guy is, he's not doing the expert meteorology, corporate world. You brush up against the corporate world and say, hey, I got something different for you. You're not the corporate guy.
I'm not traditional. I'm not the traditional guy
so
when it comes to the sense in weather.
Pareidolia. So I'm going to say that this means a tendency to perceive meaningful patterns, especially faces, figures, or symbols, in random or ambiguous stimuli like clouds, wood grain, shadows, waves, light. And I did this just a little further for grins. In Christian and broader spiritual contexts, it sits as a thoughtful intersection between human perception, faith, and discernment. So whether intentional or not, your heart and head, in my estimation, we're telling you, this is me as I draw into and write onto and describe this energy, this weather energy. I'm not going to be the regular surf guy.
Right, and going back, what Curtis is mentioning when he talks about pareidolia is the ability to look at something. Let's say, for example, a cloud, and you look up at the sky, and you go, oh, that looks like a puppy dog, or that looks like a rabbit, or that looks like whatever. Your eyes are telling you what you think you see. And again, that's a condition called pareidolia, where you can look at a knot of wood and go, oh, that looks like an eye, or you can make out a face. Like I could look at this partition that's behind us over here, and I already see 2 or 3 faces. Right. So when I look at satellite imagery, okay, on a daily basis,
crazy looking sometimes.
I'm able to discern the pareidolias, the faces, the things that stick out to me. And a lot of people think I'm just drawing random lines or putting faces on satellite imagery. But what they don't realize is 99.9% of the time, what I'm depicting is meteorologically correct.
Sure.
And so that's one of the reasons why I have a lot of meteorologists, some of them top experts in the field that follow my account, because, they know when they look at it that what I'm depicting, they're able to discern what the atmospheric features are in the imagery versus the lines and faces that I draw, in the maps and imagery. So for example, there may be 2 areas of high pressure
or low,
tight
lows,
and those are the 2 eyes, and then the nose might be the trough of the front or the trough of the low pressure. It's different things, but what that has helped me do is that helped me to understand pattern recognition. And I'm able to look at the satellite imagery now and be able to look at the models and what the models show, and then be able to look at the imagery and go, yep, that model picked up on it because this is where that's going to go, and this is what's going to happen over here. And then you get into the cause and effect of this thing is going to develop, and because of the size, shape, and form of it, it either is going to produce waves or it's not.
Sure. The way you go about it, Chickie, I think fascinates most people, and that's why this has grown for you. This is why they pay attention to it, and you're constantly working on it. I asked this before the show. Pushback for this thing? I mean, pushback from some people. What is it? Where do you get some pushback then?
Well, I get pushback, one, for posting in all caps. and one of the reasons why I post in all caps is because that's how I learned. And, when I first got into this, I would go to the National Hurricane Center or the National Weather Service, and I would read the forecast discussions or the latest forecast update, and everything was in all caps. Mm-hmm. And not one moment did I ever think that somebody was yelling at me. Because, online, if you post in all caps, you're automatically yelling at someone.
Sure.
And or if you're posting in all caps, that's a big red flag that person doesn't know what they're talking about. And, what I like to tell people is the same information that I'm giving you is the same in all caps, or whether or not it's written in the proper form. Of course, we have keyboard warriors, and some people think that I have thin skin and I like to bark back.
You might.
And I do. And so I have, there's been some haters out there that I've had to deal with. And, sometimes I take things personal. I probably shouldn't. Yeah. But, I get pushback. And then, of course, the other part is look, I'm not always right.
Yep.
Sometimes I do get it wrong. And,
of course, yeah.
That's when you get the people that'll come back and say, ha, you got it wrong.
Yeah, right. But what is, again, so I think unique and beautiful about your work is you're willing to step into this space that no one else goes towards. I mean, no one else presents like you present, talks like you.
I can promise you,
you're probably the most unique forecaster in the surf world, probably in the weather world.
I can promise you that there's nobody on the internet that does the things that I do the way that I do.
No, of course not. No,
and you don't see anybody drawing faces on
no.
And
the reason, again, I think it's beautiful is because you express, you come at it with knowledge, and there's this courage, that's all kind of wrapped into your talents and your way of doing things that come out of a period in life where, would you have ever imagined this back in 2011?
I would have never imagined that when I started that I would garner respect from people that have PhDs and degrees.
Or surfers across the world. Believe me, those 22,000 or whatever those numbers, they're not all from Jacksonville.
Yeah, no.
Oh, no.
No, they're not. I have, a few followers from, although I don't focus my forecast for, Europe.
No, I know.
The Eastern Atlantic. I'm basically
Florida.
The United States East Coast and the Gulf of Mexico. I've had people say, "Hey, man, can you start doing it for Costa Rica and Panama?"
And you probably pay way too much attention to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I'm hyper focused. Yeah, I'm hyper focused in my backyard.
But I started to realize those big lows, the Aleutian storms that came off of Hawaii, the ones that were all the way tracking, and they drop down and they track across the United States. They hit California, throw a big swell into California, then track across. Takes usually about 5 days to get across the states, and then pop out into the Atlantic Ocean, and then 2 days to get it to Puerto Rico, right? And I figured all of that out around 2004, probably about the same time you were getting really super hyper vigilant about all of it. I was doing it, but just for my 4 friends that would love to travel. So they started leaning into me for exactly what you were doing at that time. But I was just, hey, I figured something out. It might help us plan a trip so that we could get our tickets, book our flight. Right, I would say about 7 days ahead. I think we can book our flight because the one storm that's getting ready to track into California looks like one of those. The path looks good. Looks like it's going to pop.
It's very similar to what's getting ready to happen over the weekend.
So it would pop out over the Atlantic Ocean. Should happen about this time. And it looks like models. The thing I didn't really pay enough attention to was the local weather. So there'd be times. There'd be times when I would be, it's going to be great, and we'd have this big swell, and I never paid attention to what was happening over Rincon or in the trades and all the other stuff that would impact weather and surf.
No doubt.
We'd get down there, and I'd be like, oh, Curtis, what did you and I would get in trouble. because I'm the guy trying to predict, and I wouldn't always get it right.
Yeah.
So you were doing some stuff in that area when I was trying to figure it out myself. You fell in love with this thing and really got good at it, right?
Right.
So tell the group now how often you go to Puerto Rico.
Well,
and how you do it.
Same thing that you just explained there.
Yeah.
And that is that if I see a good swell setting up, I will keep an eye on the forecast, and because of how cheap airfare is these days, instead of that 7-day window like you were giving yourself. You can make the call within 24 hours and say, you know what, it's definitely on. I'm going, and I typically buy a one-way ticket, and that way I'm not locked into when I have to come back. And
your daughter lives down there now,
and
right?
my daughter and her boyfriend Lane is living there now,
and you have a place to stay.
Right. I have a place to stay.
A car to drive.
And my boards are there now, so I'm backpack only when it comes to travel.
You make a lot of people jealous up here, by the way.
Hey, listen.
I saw you surfing like 2 weeks ago, right? Or a week and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were catching bombs again, like always.
And so that's that's how I do it. I watch the forecast. I'm forecasting for myself.
Yeah, right.
And so, but I will go back to the other thing that you brought up was as far as when I forecast, I'm just letting you know when there's going to be swell in the water. It's up to you to check your local winds, your tide, and all that to see if it's going to work out for you.
So, Pareidolia as a mirror, not a message. This is one of the statements that I kind of came to here. In heightened awareness, Pareidolia functions best as a mirror. So when you're doing this work, what's the expectation from you? What's the hope as you're drawing this out on the map? Do you see the recipient understanding you? Are you having fun with it? Tell me what the hope is.
Well, the hope was in the beginning was to create a good following, get a website, get sponsors, on and on and on. And
but through this type of presentation, I mean, the unique presentation, was that to grow the site? Was that to speak to this audience a different way to see weather or see maps or something?
Well, in the beginning, that's what it was. Now it's just morphed into. Like I like to tell people, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for me. I enjoy this. I guess it would be no different than really the love of surfing. I have a love of looking at the weather models, looking at satellite imagery, and trying to figure out when the next wave is coming.
Do you have a craziest graphic that you pitched out there to the world and everyone went, "What is going on?" Chickie, what just happened?
Yeah, well, probably the call that comes to mind, and I have Tim in the back of my mind now because, like I said, he was a faithful follower of my Twitter account.
Right.
But I had a guy, Alan Leonard was his name. And he reached out to me in a direct message on Twitter and said that he had recently started following me, and that that he was a part of the Cajun Navy. Now, I don't know if you recall what the Cajun Navy is or who they are, but during Hurricane Katrina, when it got flooded, it was a ragtag group of guys with John boats and whatever that were pulling people out of flooded waters, and the Cajun Navy became the go-to people when it came to rescue.
Okay.
And anyways, he had called me up or sent me a direct message, said he recently started following me, and that he was getting ready to deploy from Louisiana, and they were heading to North Carolina because at that time, Hurricane Florence was coming. And I'll never forget, I do a thing, and I can't do it always. It's typically for a long range forecast. But Hurricane Florence, at the time, the area of spin that became Florence moved off Africa, and looking at the models and looking at the synoptic pattern in the satellite imagery, I did I captured a satellite imagery, and I drew in the imagery the points where I thought the storm was going to go.
Yeah.
And I had an arrow leading all the way over towards the Outer Banks. And I didn't pick a landfall in the satellite imagery. I just put a general location just offshore of the Outer Banks. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was getting flack for it by some meteorologists that were online.
Right.
And there was an article written called Hype versus Reality.
Okay.
Okay. And the hype was that anybody that's telling you that Florence was coming to the United States or would make landfall in the United States is feeding you a bunch of hype, because the reality is that no storm that formed in the location where Florence formed has ever affected the United States in 200 plus years of record keeping. Mm-hmm. Anyways, fast forward, going back to Alan Leonard, he reaches out, sends me a direct message. Time had passed since I'd done my pin tweet. It might have been 7 days, 8 days, and it now was looking like, hey, it's going to affect the United States somewhere on the East Coast. And he asked me, he says, I want to know from you. He asked me point blank. Mm-hmm. He said, I want to know from you, where should we go? And I thought about it overnight. And the next morning I got up on Google. I looked at Google Maps, and I was looking at Google Maps, and for whatever reason, as God is my witness, Lumberton, North Carolina just stuck out to me on a sore thumb. So I sent him a message. I said, I probably still have the direct message in my phone.
Yeah.
Lumberton, North Carolina. And he said, okay, I'll keep you in touch. Mm. So he left Louisiana, and over the course of the next day or so, he's got they travel with an airboat and this, that, and the other. Anyways, fast forward, he gets to Lumberton, North Carolina, and it is it's for sure now that Florence is going to make landfall in the Carolinas. Mm-hmm. It's just offshore. Yeah. He staged up in Lumberton, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Well, it just so happened to be that there was a dam located in Lumberton. And so Florence ended up making landfall, I think, within 150 nautical miles from where I had put my arrow and said that's where it's going to go.
Right.
And I think it ended up being 12 or 13 days out. Mm-hmm. Anyways, Hurricane Florence makes landfall, unleashes ungodly amounts of rain. Alan's in Lumberton, North Carolina. Mm. Lo and behold, the dam breaks. Mm. And there's a nursing home there. Mm. And the staff decided to vacate the nursing home and left, I think, 28 patients in there to fend for themselves, and the town was flooding. Mm. And so Alan ended up engineering a rescue with other people, how the story was told to me. And it just so happened there was a film crew there from the Discovery Channel who filmed it all. Wow. They were able to get everybody out with the help of the National Guard, if I'm not mistaken. Right. And then because of the Discovery Channel, that ended up leading to that reality show, Cajun Navy, that aired on the Discovery Channel for a couple of seasons. Right. And so...
crazy.
Yeah, and so I've made calls like that before in the past. In fact, last year, I did the same thing. Sometimes I'm able to do it 2 or 3 times in a season. So, those are the kind of
do you feel like there's a responsibility though, even as you're making these predictions and or trying to help people understand weather and where it's going to, knowing meteorologists and scientists, they work all day long, they put all this energy and knowledge, and PhDs work through it, computers work through it. When you're doing it, do you have that sense of your own responsibility to that person that's receiving it? Do you get that understanding, or does it matter that much because you're practicing this work really as much for yourself as like the guy that's telling a story, telling this is the models, this is what I see, but it's kind of for your expression? I mean, I guess that's what how do you see yourself as the weather forecaster, the surf forecaster, in the midst of all the other people that try to do it? How do you see who you are?
I see myself as a unique individual because of how I present the weather to you. Because again, nobody else on the internet is doing
kind of what you do.
How I do it. There's plenty of people that can tell you what the latest rain forecast is. There's plenty of people that can tell you whether or not it's going to rain tomorrow or not.
Do you see yourself doing this for the rest of your life?
Oh yeah, it's definitely there. Now, whether or not it's for a group of people that are online, or whether or not it's just for me, it's ingrained now. It's forever ingrained.
Where would you like to see it grow? How would you like to see it grow?
To be honest with you, at this point, it really doesn't matter. Okay. I've given up on the idea of making any money. In the past, the money that I have received has been through.
And that's okay with you, right?
Through donations. It is. At first, I started with the idea of make money. Mm-hmm. How do you make money doing it? Mm-hmm. And as many hours as I put into it, I could probably go get a job at McDonald's,
right?
And make a ton of more money than the donations that I've received over the time of the years. And then now you also have to understand too is that people see me, going on surf trips all the time, and then they go, "Well, he doesn't need any money. I'm not sending him any money. All I'm doing is, sending him on vacation if I send him money." So I've kind of given up on the idea of the money part. It's more so of accuracy that
do you feel like you've gotten more accurate over the years?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's all it's
baked into all the work. You work that long and hard at it, you're going to get better at it.
Yeah, I mean it's simple science to me now.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's.
Well, I'm always confused because you've got different models out there, and you got to average those or figure out which one's the better model, the GFS or the how Europeans and all these models. They'll show you all those. Like
I would like to tell you or describe that to you is that there is a difference between a model watcher and a model reader.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, a model watcher is someone who will just go, which I get accused of, and that's fine. A model watcher is someone who will just go to tropicaltidbits.com, which is typically the main website that I go to.
Yeah, I use that a lot.
Or windy.com.
Yep, I use that
and we'll look at each individual model run, and that's as far as they take it.
Right.
What they won't do is they won't look at the model run, or they are unable to discern by looking at the model run and says, okay, the model shows this is going to happen over the next couple of days. Let me go look at the satellite imagery and the other data to see if it's even possible. The other thing that some people have, or everyone has, is confirmation bias. Mm-hmm. And I also have that because I'll pick the model that's going to give the best chance for surf. Mm. Because what are we looking for? I'm looking for surf. So do I want to show the model that shows absolutely nothing? Mm-hmm. Or do I want to show the model that says, hey, man, there might be some surf coming?
Right.
Okay? And, that's where the hype and the hope, comes in.
Right.
And so, but at the same time, you're also going, okay, well, I got to be realistic about it Because if you have a model that, which sometimes the GFS does, well, you can't keep showing that big old storm developing in the long range that never verifies, and then you get accused of, you know what I mean? You're just posting images to post images. So a lot of people think that I do things for clickbait. Then to drive you to a website, which you got to click, hence the word clickbait. I don't send you to no website.
Yeah, well, you're not making money to begin with, so there's kind of an argument already that, hey, dude, this is a man that enjoys sharing information in a manner that might be somewhat inspiring, might be a little unique, certainly can keep you informed. It's all of those things. But
and the information is the same, no matter if it's in all caps or if it's in regular text.
Yeah. No, I have always appreciated seeing your stuff, and I also get inspired watching you travel, seeing you in places like PR where blue water, Caribbean blue water, 76 degrees, 70, what is it right now, 75?
Yeah, probably between 75 and 80, maybe.
And it's so easy. You get off the plane if you want, and you're right there. Aguadilla is right there if you want.
My next on the list is going to be the Dominican Republic.
Good for you, yeah.
That's next on the list.
You're in your 60s and you're enjoying life. You're traveling. You're doing work that educates. It certainly you've got followers, and I think they're there for the honest reason that they know your passion and they know you're pretty good at it. So you're doing things right. I was stoked to learn about Pareidolia. Yeah, and I think that is, for our audience and for me now, a great way to understand. Like you said, you can look at a cloud and see a face in the cloud, or you can look at a mountainside and see some kind of, in the ridges, a deer or something. Looking around the world, looking around nature, and seeing things in it, and being reminded of the awe, being inspired by it. And knowing that that's part of the intentionality for us, we should be inspired all the time.
Yeah.
And so taking maps and seeing things in those maps and being able to, have other people go along with you or sort of travel with you and use your talents that way, I think it's amazing. Chickie, I'm stoked that you were able to have a part in Tim's life, and he had a part in your life, He
came along at the right moment.
Yeah, and the testimonial is we get to share with an audience the love of the ocean, the love of our brother, and how we continue to move forward on this journey of Not Strong.
That's it.
Yeah, so I think that wraps us. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
All right. Yes, thank you guys for listening. It's been Not Strong, Empowering the Human Spirit. Been here with Chickie Dimain. Boo. Thank you for your knowledge and time.
Thank you, Curtis. I appreciate it. Rest in peace, dear brother Tim.
Amen.